Welcome to Algebra 1. The learning goal for this episode is to learn and apply properties of exponents that involve quotients. Let's recall what you already know about exponents and division. We can write out c to the 7th divided by c to the 2nd like this. We know that any number divided by itself is 1, so two of the c's will divide out to make 1, and we'll be left with c to the 5th power. This suggests the quotient of powers property, which states that to divide powers having the same base, keep the base the same and subtract the exponents. So a to the m divided by a to the n will give us a to the m minus n. It's important to remember that the base itself, a, does not divide out to make 1. Let's look at some examples. We want to simplify this expression, which is a quotient of two powers. I could rely on my knowledge of powers to write out what x to the 8th and x to the 2nd means, and then divide out two of my x's to get a simplified answer. But once I know my property, I can do this quicker without writing it out by simply subtracting my exponents, 8 minus 2, and leaving my base, x, the same. So x to the 6th power is the simplified form for this expression. Here's another example. Using my property, I can rewrite this as my base 10 to the 12 minus 5 power, or simplifying it, 10 to the 7th. In this example, I have multiple bases to think about. I have my constants, I have x, and I have y. It's easiest to separate this out into three parts. Now I can begin to simplify. 8 divided by 2 gives me 4. Note that these are just numbers, not exponents, and I'm just dividing. Then for my x's and y's, I can use my property and write x to the 8 minus 2 power and y to the 3 minus 1 power. Note that the y in the bottom is to the first power. We just usually don't write 1 for powers. That then simplifies to 4x to the 6th, y to the 2nd, which is simplified form for this problem. What if we had something that looks like this? If I expand it out, I get x to the 2nd multiplied by itself 4 times in the numerator, and y to the 3rd multiplied by itself 4 times in the denominator. Using my property, I can then write this as x to the 8th divided by y to the 12th. This suggests a new property called the power of a quotient property, which simply states that to find the power of a quotient, find the power of the numerator and the power of the denominator, then divide. So if you have a divided by b, the entire quantity raised to the m power, then you can raise the numerator a to the m power and the denominator b to the m power separately, then divide. Let's try example 4. My power of a quotient property allows me to rewrite this as the numerator 4y to the 2nd raised to the 2nd power, and my denominator 7x to the 3rd, that whole quantity raised to the 2nd power. Note that those are entire quantities in the numerator and denominator being raised to that 2nd power. Then I can use my property for a power of a product to write the numerator as 4 to the 2nd power and y to the 2nd to the 2nd power. And the same with the denominator, 7 to the 2nd power and x to the 3rd to the 2nd power. I can now simplify. 4 to the 2nd power gives me 16, and y to the 2nd to the 2nd gives me y to the 4th in the numerator, and 7 to the 2nd gives me 49, and x to the 3rd to the 2nd gives me x to the 6th in the denominator. So 16y to the 4th divided by 49x to the 6th is my simplified form. Let's try another one. Again, I simply raise both the numerator and the denominator to the 3rd power. I get x to the 21st power in the numerator, 7 times 3, and b to the 3rd power in the denominator. Note that the original b was raised to the 1st power, so it's 1 times 3 to give me that b to the 3rd in the denominator. Now for our guided practice section. We're going to work through some problems together. You do not need to write down these problems. Just step through them with me. At each step, I'm going to prompt you with a question you should be asking yourself. Then I'll pause for about 5 seconds for you to think about it and answer for yourself. Then I'll show you. So for this problem, our first question is, what are you trying to do here? What we're trying to do is simplify this expression involving exponents. Next question, how do we do that? We use our quotient of powers property to keep the base the same and subtract the exponents. Now what? Now we simply subtract those exponents and get our simplified form of 4 to the 5th power. Again, when it's a number to a power like this, sometimes we might actually multiply it out. 4 to the 5th power is 1024, but often we will leave it in exponential form, 4 to the 5th. Let's try another one. Again, we're simplifying an expression involving exponents. What do we do first? This time we have an extra step because we have a product in the numerator that we can simplify using our product of powers property. What's next? We then get x to the 15th in the numerator. Now what? Now we use our quotient of powers property to subtract the exponents. What's next? We simplify. 15 minus 2 gives me x to the 13th power. This is simplified form for this problem. Let's try another one. What's different about this one? This one involves a quotient raised to a power. What do we do first? We raise both our numerator and our denominator to the second power. What's next? We raise each factor to the second power. So 5 to the second power and d squared to the second power in the numerator, and 2 to the second power and f cubed to the second power in the denominator. Now what? Now we simplify to get to our answer. 25d to the 4th in the numerator, 4f to the 6th in the denominator. That's simplified form. Now for the self-check section. In this section, you're going to physically pause the video as you work out the problem on paper in your notebook. Then you'll press play to check to see how you did. You'll have 5 seconds to pause the video after I stop speaking, before I show you the solution. Please pause the video now and work out the problem, then press play to check. Here's the solution. Please compare this to your work. Pause the video here if you need more time to compare, then press play again to move on to the next problem. Same thing on this problem. Pause the video, write down this problem and work it out in your notebook, then press play to check. Please pause the video now. Here is the solution. Again, pause the video if you need more time to compare this to your work. In closing, let's review our learning goal. We wanted to learn and apply the properties of exponents that involve quotients. We did that by learning the quotient of powers property and the power of a quotient property. Again, knowing the names of the properties isn't that critical, but remembering how to easily work with exponents and quotients is.